Star Wars. A franchise known mostly for its movies, but you wouldn't guess it considering they've made way more video games. Ever since Star Wars Electronic Battle Command back in 1978, all the way up until the most recent Jedi Survivor, LucasArts has been pumping these games out faster than Catholic mothers can shoot children out of their holy grail. Just stop at 3. Okay? No more Seans. It's gotten to the point where I wouldn't even be surprised if you hadn't heard of most of these games, like Star Wars Lethal Alliance or The Sims Star Wars. Who's playing this? Who is this for? But today, that's all about to change, because I'm gonna play all of these Star Wars games, and I'm gonna tell you about them. And then, I'm gonna rank them on a tier list. Starting with S tier being the highest, moving down to A, B, C, D, and F tier being the lowest. Now there's probably like 100 games out there, and most of them are ones I can't really get my hands on, but I'm gonna do my best within what I can find. Unfortunately though, there are going to be some limitations. I'm not going to be playing any of the Flash games, educational games, plug and play games, or any of the games before 2000. I also want to say I'm not ranking these objectively. These are just my personal opinion based on my experiences with the game. So if I disagree with you, please don't find my house and put a punji pit in my yard. Just leave your opinion in the comments and maybe we'll talk about it. But without further ado, please enjoy. We'll start it off with Star Wars Jedi Power Battles. It takes place in the prequel era and lets you choose as one of these 5 Jedi to play as. Naturally, I picked Mace Windu because he's my special boy. Although he's not very special here, considering he looks like this in the game. They messed him up so bad they didn't even give him the purple lightsaber. That is his one thing. The story loosely follows the Phantom Menace movie, but that takes a backseat to the real gem here, which is the gameplay. Can I please? You? Let me hit. Come on. Jesus. Finally. This is such bullshit. Yeah, this sucks, and the platforming sucks too. I'm gonna give this game an F tier. Give Mace Windu back his purple. Star Wars Battle for Naboo. Can somebody please tell me why the explosions look like this? I'm not mad. They're the funniest thing in any of these games. I just want to know. This game, in my opinion, is so bad it's good. The explosions are funny and the gameplay is pretty straightforward. And for an old game, it doesn't even control that bad. It's not something I'd come back to, but it's definitely not the worst. So, D tier. Star Wars Obi-Wan's Adventure. I love you, Obi-Wan. Please sign my forehead. Not to be confused with the Obi-Wan game for Xbox, this one came out for the Game Boy Color. I'm gonna say something crazy. I like this one. It looks like it was made in MS Paint, but it's good fun. I like just running around and swinging the lightsaber. It's all wiggly, and I think that's funny. The puzzles are really simple, and it seems like that's what the game was going for. It wasn't exactly easy to progress through, but I enjoyed the time I did spend in the game. So, C tier. Star Wars Demolition. The premise is very simple. You are a vehicle. You must destroy other vehicle with vehicle. It immediately reminded me of a game that I would play with like a friend or my brother when I was a kid. You got these like shield charging things you have to go sit in, like weapon charging stuff, and I think that makes the gameplay more interesting. I do wish the game was more clear about what you're supposed to do, but as soon as I figured it out, I was in. There wasn't really a story, but honestly, I didn't care. I was too entranced by the way that the menu just kind of just runs away from you every time you click it. The vehicles also like show visible damage when they get damaged. That's just a little thing that I think is cool. I don't know why. It's probably just a very normal thing for games around that time. I liked it. I had fun. B tier. Star Wars Starfighter. I thought the controls were a little weird here, so I tried to invert the horizontal look, and then I accidentally inverted the vertical look, and you can't invert the horizontal, and so I created the worst flying experience known to man. The game controls bad and just doesn't do anything special for me. It locks you in a first-person view, which I think is stupid, and it looks like one of those arcade games that you find in a mall that you just know you're gonna get chlamydia if you touch. F tier. Super Bombad Racing. Super Bombad Racing is a Star Wars Mario Kart clone that completely redefines what Star Wars can be, because now you can be a cute little guy. Look at the droid, he's just so tiny. I just love their heads. It's so big. How did it get so big? I don't know if I'd even call this a Star Wars game. It's more of a Mario Kart clone that LucasArts just threw up all over, so I'm gonna give it D tier. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. As far as the flight sim goes, I like this one. It did feel a little limited for being set in space, but the controls are snappy, the gameplay's straightforward, and I like being able to direct around my little squad. It's repetitive, but overall pretty fun. B tier. Star Wars Obi-Wan. I love you, Obi-Wan! Please sign my butt cheeks! This shit is good. I mean, behind the crazy, insane camera angles and some of the some of the jank here. This is a good game. The biggest thing this game does that other Star Wars games don't do is that the lightsaber is controlled by the right stick. I read online that it's a little, you know, hit or miss with fans. I liked it. I thought it was good. The graphics are pretty subpar even for the time, but I love the atmosphere of a lot of these levels. I think it feels good. There's a level of like immersion that I enjoy. The story once again goes through the Phantom Menace, but a little different. The story really wasn't for me, but it just kind of kept me interested long enough to keep messing around with the lightsaber and the force powers and the flips. You can do flips. I just only did flips. I went everywhere with flips. The experience does kind of fall apart when you need to do anything with depth perception, because the camera angle sucks moose balls. And the final fight you get with Darth Maul just sucks so bad. Oh, it's so bad. No. There's a lot of good stuff here, but there's a lot of not good stuff here either. I'd play the hell out of a remake, but as it stands, I give it a B tier. Star Wars Racer Revenge. I understand they want to capitalize on the pod racing thing, but this was just so boring to play. I'd rather have played Bombad Racing. At least they had the funny heads and the little guy. F tier. Star Wars Jedi Starfighter. Sequel to Star Wars Starfighter, and it's better in a lot of ways, but not better enough to justify existing. I don't mean to be a hater, but Rogue Squadron 2 already did this, but way better. You don't need to exist. F tier. Star Wars Flight of the Falcon. How did you feel about that sound? However you felt about it is how you will feel about this game. LucasArts, I am not a fool. I've played a lot of Space Invaders. This is just Space Invaders, but from a weird perspective. F tier. Star Wars Trilogy, Apprentice of the Force. This game would be so awesome if it just like at some point during the gameplay broke the fourth wall and Luke Skywalker started acknowledging you directly and things started glitching and looking wrong and he just started like eating people and breaking through the screen and like moving around. D tier. Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. So here's where we get into the territory of people wanting to blow me up with a rocket launcher for having an opinion. Before I say anything though, let me just take you through my experience with the game. Anything I saw on this game was in third person, and I heard mostly that it was just the lightsaber combat that was so good in this game. And so I jumped in, you know, thinking I was going to judge the lightsaber combat. And it was a first person shooter, and I played it for a while and it was still a first-person shooter. I'm like, did I play the wrong game? I look it up, it's like, oh, you get the lightsaber later. So I played longer. I played for a couple hours, I played for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, no lightsaber, 6 hours until you get the lightsaber. The game with the best lightsaber combat, and you don't get it for 6 hours. I understand there's like a whole story reason he like shut himself off from the Force, and it's like a whole like edgy thing, and then he's trying to resist the dark side. I don't care. It was boring. It sucked. He says he's trying to avoid the dark side. He just uses lightning later. Is this not dark side stuff? I just don't get it. I can appreciate what the developers were going for here, but that switch from first person to third person gameplay just felt like a different game, and not in the way that it like kept it fresh over that time for me, but more so in a way that it felt like they made 2 games, and I wish they had only made 1. Once you get there, the lightsaber combat's okay, but it's just that beginning section ruined it for me. I am gonna say C tier. Star Wars The Clone Wars. I know it's their bread and butter, but I'm already getting tired of the vehicle combat stuff. I just don't care. Demolition got it right way before this. You know, just let me play as a person. I take it back. For some reason, they wanted to give you the ability to walk as a person, but just didn't want to make a new mechanic for it, so they made the person control like a vehicle. Why are you running like that? Why are you going with all that gumption? I just F tier. F tier. Why? Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Somehow even worse than Power Battles. I'm not even gonna give it the time of day. F tier. Star Wars Bounty Hunter. It did not exactly age well, but like, I don't know, I get a jetpack, I get to jump around, I get to shoot stuff, I like it. The story was pretty forgettable, but the gadgets that you get, the things you can do, and the levels that you can do them in just make it a fun experience. It suffers from the same problem a lot of these older games suffer from, which is that the camera is just dog shit. This was remastered, honestly, I'd give it an S tier, but as it stands now with a lot of the jank, I'm gonna say B tier. Star Wars, The New Droid Army. Alright, say what you will about this one, but the stylized look was charming, the lightsaber combat was fun, it was overall mindless fun. I do wish I could move a little faster, but that's about it. I'm gonna say C tier. Star Wars Galaxies. So Star Wars Galaxies is a game that got shut down a long time ago. It's an MMO and no official servers exist for it anymore. So instead of just watching videos or playing on the community servers, I decided to do the same thing, which is to harass a Star Wars YouTuber until he would tell me about his experience with the game. And now you get to watch that. What is Star Wars Galaxies? Because it just, the way you described it in the video just seemed like it was, you're just a normal person.
So you've never played it? It came out in 2003, so...
I was 3.
Okay.
Years old. Yeah.
Not playing many PC games?
No, mostly with blocks and...
Right.
And colors.
So the way I always describe it, it's you're not just like running and gunning with a blaster. You're not just swinging around a lightsaber. You are a citizen of the Star Wars galaxy. You could be anything you want, as kind of basic as it was. Like, for example, I was a doctor in the game. And I would like buff people before they went out on their journeys. I had a home on Tatooine. Like Jedi were very rare. It took forever to become a Jedi. Most people were just, you know, living their lives in this world. And it was so different and so fun.
What would you say were like the best things about this specifically? What would you say it's that? Just the being able to be anybody?
For me, it was the community. Everybody, like the community and the economy was so much fun because, you know, I had my profession and then somebody else might be what was called an image designer, and you could literally like do plastic surgery on people's faces and stuff like that. Everybody had their own unique role, and it just, I don't know, it all came together really nice. It wasn't just, like I said, a bunch of people with blasters. It was just kind of a life simulator almost.
That's definitely different from any Star Wars game I've played, for sure. How many hours did you have in the game?
Golly, man. So I played the game heavily from 2003 to probably 2006 or so. And like that game and a couple other ones consumed my my gaming life, and I couldn't tell you. I have thousands. I have no idea. I can't even estimate.
Yeah,
I can't even estimate.
I can imagine. That's crazy. What would you say the worst things about it were, though?
The worst part about Star Wars Galaxies was that it changed. So, like I said in the beginning, it was almost impossible to become a Jedi. You would like see one every few months. A couple years after the game came out, they did a complete game change. I don't know how to describe it, but basically after a few years of launch and you created a character, well, now you could just click Jedi and you could become a Jedi. To me, it kind of ruined the spirit of the game, and it was, in my opinion, the game's ultimate downfall because so many people started bailing on it because, you know, it changed so drastically.
If you had to rate this on a tier list, like if you had to give it a letter grade,
I'm super biased, man. This is my all-time favorite Star Wars game. So for me, it's the highest grade, an A++++ to the moon.
Really,
dude, I cannot tell you how much fun I had back in the day with this game.
All right, yeah, A++++++++.
There you go.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This game ran like trash. I played it for an hour and a half, and I guess I never saved, so I lost all of my progress. I had to completely restart all over again. The entire time I'm playing, there's bugs and glitches throughout the entire thing. S tier. S tier. Let's get something straight here. I don't care if this game got up, put my grandma in a wheelbarrow, and rolled her off a cliff. The RPG elements in this game are done perfectly. It is the only instance in which turn-based combat has ever been fun for me, and the story is just, I mean, it's the only game in the Star Wars universe that I feel like has brought anything new to the IP. Does that make sense? Because every game is just the Phantom Menace. It really is. Most of the games are the Phantom Menace. But this one, it is thousands of years in the past, and they just let BioWare do whatever the hell they wanted to do, and it was awesome. This game somehow takes all the elements from games I don't really enjoy, like the turn-based combat and stuff, and makes it something that I can enjoy. I had a blast throughout the entire thing, and I would recommend this to somebody who doesn't even like Star Wars. It's just that good. The story's just really good. I like it. I like it a lot. They let me use a sword? That's awesome. Why do I want a sword? I could have a lightsaber. I don't know, but I have a freaking sword and I'm about to go stab some guys in the face. I said it once, I'll say it a million times. S tier. Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. Do we really need the word Jedi twice in the title? I'm curious to know, like, why. You could just call it, like, Star Wars Academy, and it would get the point across just fine. Finally, there is a lightsaber. Right away, right off the bat. I don't have to do no messing around. This is a sequel to Jedi Outcast, the one I talked about before. We got to play for like 6 hours before you get the lightsaber. You get it right away here. And it's just as good as the last one as far as lightsaber combat goes. Not a ton changed here, but you know, the little changes are good. But I've got to come clean here, okay? And I know a lot of people really like this game, but I just wasn't feeling it. I mean, like, the main antagonist just wasn't doing it for me in any way. And the lightsaber combat, well, it was good. You know, I didn't mind it. It just didn't, like, scratch any particular itch for me. I think the additions of the dual sabers and the double-sided sabers are good. It's a good way to build on the last one. It's got everything I would want on paper, but it just didn't do it for me. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe it was the way that the characters felt a little off to me. I don't know. I know I would have loved it if I played it as a kid, but I didn't. The lightsaber combat is good, just not something I would come back and play a whole bunch. So I'm going to give this a C tier. Please don't put the Punji Pit in my yard. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3. I'll just say it right now. The Rogue Squadron series has the best flight sim controls of any of the many flight sims that Star Wars has put out. And this just feels like more of that. And, you know, there's added things here. I really liked, for some reason, I just loved putting the ropes on the big walkie thingies. I don't remember what they're called. Please don't kill me. They're just, when you drive around them and then they go, I love it. I love it. It was, unfortunately, this flight sim did not learn from the mistakes of another flight sim on this list and wanted to implement ground controls, which I'm all for on paper, but, I mean, just look at this. Why? This section where you're playing as Luke Skywalker learning about the Force just feels forced, and you're forced to play through it before you can play anything else in the game, and so that's just gonna force me to give it a C tier. Star Wars Battlefront. The crowd goes crazy, the freaking moon explodes, it's Star Wars Battlefront! I like Star Wars Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront series is something I've got a little more nostalgia for, so I'm gonna be a little bit biased here when I say I like this game. I like it a lot. Obviously, it's the first entry in the series, so there's some minor kinks, like where you aim doesn't exactly indicate where you shoot. Like, the bullet doesn't go there. I mean, the game modes are here. That feeling of I'm in a large-scale battle in Star Wars. It's there, you know? Even from this first entry, it's there, and it feels good. The weapons are cool. The character models are cool. The maps are cool. And I've never said this about a game before, but the loading screens just that's just cool. That's cool. Triangulate me down to the battlefield and let me kill a motherfucker. Well, the game is good. I think it's got its issues and serves more as a base for what is to come in the future games. And so I'm gonna give this one a B tier. Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures. This one's an MMO based on that animated show that came out a while ago, and it did not last long, at least not long enough for me to play it, because you can't play it anymore. This is something I probably would ask somebody about, but I looked online and I found an emulator version of it. It just says emulator. I don't know what it is, so I opened it up and it was broken. But yeah, this game wasn't even really functional. I think it was some kind of demo that just got posted out there. Yeah, nothing really works here. I'm gonna give it an F tier, at least for the emulator version. If you played this game, let me know in the comments what you thought. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. Let me tell you a story. A story of greed, corruption, and deadlines that are too soon. The original Knights of the Old Republic was made by BioWare, and it was a hit. So much of a hit that BioWare was asked to make a sequel within 1 year's time. But BioWare wouldn't have anything to do with that. A half-assed sequel? No. If they were going to do it, they were going to do it right. And so they just didn't do it. They had nothing to do with it. Instead, Obsidian came in. These are the people behind games like Fallout New Vegas, and they pushed out a half-assed sequel within a year. A lot of the core elements are still here, and the story is still really good, but in my opinion, your community shouldn't have to make a mod that fixes the game and makes it what it should have been. You should just make the game and take the time to make it right. I don't know. It's not a bad game. It's actually a good game. If I were going to spend my time on one of these games, I'd spend it on the first one, even now. It's still a fun playthrough. I just know that it could have been better, so I'm gonna give this a B tier. Star Wars Republic Commando. Did you guys just make Halo, but Star Wars? Because this looks a lot like Halo, but Star Wars. And this came out 4 months after Halo 2. And it was right around the popularity of peak Halo, meaning that the development cycles for this and Halo 2 would have been probably around the same time, like after Halo 1 came out. Okay, so this game's actually pretty cool. You start off as a clone and you go through like the whole cloning process in the beginning. It's actually pretty cool. I liked this little sequence a lot. I'll give this game some credit. The squad mechanics here are good. I like them a lot. The story, you know, it's a good story. I like it. Unfortunately, I didn't really like the shooting mechanics here, and this is a shooting game. So I'm gonna give Halo a C tier. Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. All the footage you're gonna see here is from my live stream show. It's called Spit Take. You should go watch it. It's over on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 p.m. EST. I'm just saying. I played this game so much as a kid. I mean, me and my brother just played this all the time. This and Lego Indiana Jones, it was 24/7 on. And I thought I'd enjoy it just as much playing it this time around, but I got angry. Maybe it's because I was playing it with my friend Milo, who'd never played it before and doesn't know anything about Star Wars, but I really think it was the camera angles. It's just these games would be so much better if the camera did not move in this way. This would be perfected later on in Lego Indiana Jones 2 when the camera would split and then come back together. I think that was a good idea for that. I still think it's impressive that they're able to capture the essence of Star Wars in a game where no one speaks. I think the gameplay's fun. This is the game that inspired me to find the mini kits in life. That's deep as fuck. Though it very obviously shows its age and things like the camera angles, I like this game, man, and I like the memories I had playing this game. And so I'm gonna give this super biased ranking at S tier. The Sims Star Wars. I do not like The Sims. I find The Sims to be a hellish nightmare that traps you into spending almost $800 to simulate something that you could experience by going outside. I will not be playing The Sims, but my girlfriend, she likes The Sims. So she is going to do this section instead.
I have grown up playing The Sims. I have a very high standard of what goes in my game and how it plays. And under normal circumstances, I wouldn't really dare touch this DLC with a 10-foot pole. But when I received a fun little gift on Steam and was told to rate it, I figured I might as well give it my best shot. And to be honest, I don't regret playing it. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of time to talk about this DLC in its entirety. If I did, this video segment would be an hour by itself. This is not a review on every aspect of the game, but only the biggest issue I experienced while playing. While they're very common in Sims culture, this pack particularly relies on something called rabbit holes for its content. What are rabbit holes, I hear you ask? Well, it's where a sim disappears through a vehicle or building and experiences something without you, with little to no acknowledgement on the details of what happened during that experience. The Sims franchise usually does this in forms of movie theaters, spa treatments, or even going to work or school. Sometimes you can get a few vague pop-ups about what happens and you can choose what your sim does, but usually it has a very little effect on your sims. This becomes a big problem for Journey to Batuu when all of their exciting content is hidden behind rabbit holes. The big thing about Star Wars is literally space. You know what I didn't see any of the entire time I played this DLC? Space. And it's not like Sims 4 can't make unique realms. They've done it before in our base game towns. Sims 4 is free right now. You could go in the base game and find one of the secret realms, one of the unique realms that they could have made for Star Wars. And I understand space travel is already a rabbit hole established in the game and all of the Sims games before it, but you couldn't have given Star Wars anything special in this? Doing a special totally legal delivery for the scoundrels? How about a scouting mission for the Resistance? Here's a wall of text telling you what happened. Your sim just disappears. You receive no repercussions for the choices you pick, and you come home safe and absolutely normal every single time. There was a lot of potential to make some very exciting space realms or even new planet realms. They literally put the Millennium Falcon in the game, which you can actually fly. I personally didn't even think it was that big of a deal, but I know Star Wars fans love the damn thing. And honestly, don't even get me started on the other alien races just being costumes and clothing items. With all of this complaining, I understand how it could come off that I absolutely despised this DLC, but truly, I really enjoyed it. The gameplay outside of the rabbit holes was really fun, and with all the different factions you could explore in the storylines, it leaves a lot of creativity to create your own character and enjoy this world, even if just to a very limited degree in The Sims. With that being said, despite the rabbit holes, I will put this at a B on the tier list. Overall, I think it's a great, very nice, goal-oriented game pack for those kinds of simmers who need a break from the mundane, slice-of-life, open-ended playstyle the main game usually provides.
Star Wars Episode 3. I like it. I like it so much. I love it so much. I loved playing this game when I was a kid. I loved trying to get Darth Vader to have the blue lightsaber, because what the fudge? Why does he have blue lightsaber? He's a Sith and that's supposed to be red. That's freaking crazy. I'm 8 years old. I love Capri Sun and eating graham crackers off the floor. There's really not much to this game. I mean, you just follow the events of Episode 3 and these like kind of thought out levels. They're not really, they're kind of half baked, but my fondest memories are in the versus mode where you can, you know, plug in 2 controllers and fight each other, and or even at the ending when you can play as Obi-Wan and Anakin and you can do that fight, but there's an alternate ending where Anakin wins and then he kills Obi-Wan and he goes over and he kills Palpatine too, and then he gets up in his castle and he does a whole bunch of Anakin stuff. I can acknowledge that the level design is just not good and that the controls, the combat doesn't feel very good either, but I had fun with the game and I'm gonna give it an A tier. Star Wars Battlefront 2. I would do anything to go back in time and relive these memories playing this game. You know, I would do absolutely anything. I would kill a man. Dead. I'd do it. This game is the perfect expansion on the last game. I mean, it adds the Jedi, which I remembered being a little more unique to each Jedi, and now that I'm playing it, it's mostly the same between each one, but even still, it's such a good addition. I love the sound effects. I love the loading screens. I love this game. It's just good, and the bullets finally go where they're supposed to, and that is awesome. The maps are perfect, the game modes are perfect, you know, the gameplay is perfect. I'm gonna give this an S tier. Star Wars Empire at War. I'm a hater. I don't like these kinds of games. They're just not for me. I mean, you know what? If you wanted to feel like the commander of a big Star Wars army and things like that, this is the game for you. Totally. It totally is. I don't care about this kind of stuff. I don't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I'm gonna give it a D tier. I'm sure it's good for somebody though. Star Wars Lethal Alliance. This feels like I'm playing Star Wars Bounty Hunters, but just less, just like a lot less. And also, the main mechanic is shooting people. I never aimed at anybody. I just ran in and it just shot people, and I just pressed the shoot button, and it just felt boring, and I got bored and sad and hungry, and I left. I didn't want to play anymore. F tier. Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron. This is a good PSP game. It takes the core elements of the Battlefront games and kind of dumbs them down for the PSP. To get a, you know, true ranking, I'd probably have to break out my old white PSP with that Darth Vader decal on it, go on a long drive, plug that game in, and just play it while my parents fight. But I can't do that, unfortunately. But doing the best I can with what I played, I liked it, and I'd give it a B tier. Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron. I wish there was a category below F tier that I could put this game in. I didn't like it, and it pissed me off. You go to double F tier. Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Most people will say Jedi Academy is the best lightsaber combat, but this one for sure. This series has the best force powers of any game. The main protagonist, Starkiller, the apprentice of Darth Vader, can crush these ships like soda cans. Master Yoda never did that. The journey you go on in this game feels so unique and creative for something that is supposed to be like just a small piece between movies. Replaying this now, I do feel like the gameplay doesn't hold up as well as I remember, but the scale of this game is still so fulfilling, and it makes you feel strong like no other Star Wars game. It's such a small detail too, but I love how he holds the lightsaber with a reverse grip. I think it's that power fantasy in this game that really does it for me. It just scratches that itch, and it is so unfortunate that Disney has now considered this not canon to the world at all in any way. It's now, I think, Star Wars Legends story, whatever. Why does the mouse hate fun and whimsy? Star Wars The Force Unleashed is an S-tier game. Star Wars The Clone Wars Republic Heroes. I could not find a way to play this game, but I looked up some footage on YouTube, and it just kind of looks like some Lego kind of rip-off thing that's meant to capitalize on the popularity of the show, so I didn't bother with it. I did, however, get to play the DS version, which is also dog shit. This game goes in F. Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. This game was rushed out the door, not really treated with care, and just meant to capitalize on the success of the first one. It did nothing to improve on the original, but I ate it up. I mean, I was living my best life playing this game. And I'll even say still, it holds up. I enjoy this game a lot, even more than the first one. The story is less compelling by far, but the gameplay, it makes up for that, in my opinion. Playing it now, I do just feel nostalgic more than anything, but I'm still gonna give this bad boy an S tier. Lego Star Wars The Clone Wars. I'd rather just play the complete saga. I'll be completely honest here. I mean, there's nothing necessarily bad about this. I just didn't enjoy it as much. You know, it's still a Lego game. It's still fun to play with your friends or whoever you want to play it with. It just didn't, you know, I'm gonna play the old one. This was just another forgettable Lego game for me, and I'm gonna give it a C tier. Star Wars The Old Republic. BioWare just has some way of like burrowing into my brain and finding the things I hate the most and making me like them. I hate MMOs. They feel like such a waste of time to me, and yet somehow this game is S tier. So BioWare didn't get to work on Knights of the Old Republic 2. Instead, they jumped on The Old Republic, which is an MMO based in that same area of time. So I played this game from the perspective of a Sith acolyte, and my girlfriend played it from the perspective of a bounty hunter. And our stories were so unique and different, but compelling in their own ways. And then when we both just so happened to end up in the same kind of place, and I moved over into following her on her journey, it felt natural. It felt like my character was going on a specific journey, and that just felt cool. It stoked my creativity. I was writing the story for this character in my brain. I hate MMOs because I don't like the feeling of having to grind to progress, but there always was a story reason that felt good and like I wasn't just wasting my time here. MMOs also have this look that turns me away, and I don't like having to use the number keys, but this game is so customizable. There's a menu that you can completely move around the HUD and make it more digestible for someone like me, and I think that's awesome. Of all the games on this list, this is definitely one I'm going to come back to and play, continuing even after this video, because I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm so curious what the other stories you can experience in this game have to hold. I really don't like MMOs, but this one just got me, and so I'm going to give this an S tier. Connect Star Wars. Pass. Angry Birds Star Wars. Smash. Star Wars Commander. This is a mobile game that has since been discontinued, so I wasn't able to play it, but watching some footage, this is just Clash of Clans. And I fucking love Clash of Clans. Clash of Clans gets a B tier. Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I don't know if this one is discontinued, but it looks like Raid Shadow Legends, and I really fucking love Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends gets an S tier. Vader Immortal. So this game is exclusive not just to VR, but to specifically the Quest headset. All the footage of this that you see is 100% totally on the Quest 2 headset, and definitely not any workarounds involved here to play this game. Now, I've played a few VR experiences, and this one really impressed me. The story felt great. Darth Vader is huge. The lightsaber was really fun to use in the game. Darth Vader is huge. The climbing felt fun and kind of scary, and Darth Vader is huge. Look at that big boy over there. Oh my god. Why are you so big, man? I never understood the intimidation factor of Darth Vader because he just looks like he's got a microwave on his chest. The only thing I'd be scared of him for is leaving my hot pocket in there too long, but I get it now because standing in front of me, like you can see him in front of you. He big. Oh, he's so big. He big. I thought the mechanics felt really good. I thought it was beautiful, even on my definitely Quest 2 headset. I'll be playing this again. I only played through Chapter 1, but I'm gonna play through the rest of my own time because this was good. I'm gonna give this an S tier. Star Wars Battlefront Remake. We could have had Battlefront 3. Look at all of this stuff. We could have had it. No, you and your remakes. I mean, reasonably, this is pretty much just Battlefront 3, but like, if they They just called it a different thing, but still, this game's good. I'm just a hater. You know, I enjoyed it. I played it when it came out, and I had a lot of fun with it then. I played it recently with my friend Milo. I enjoyed it. You know, things felt a little clunky here and there, but overall, it was good. I'd honestly say the same thing for this game that I said for the original. Is it's more of a baseline for what's to come next. And so I'm going to give this game a B tier. Star Wars Battlefront 2 Remake. This game's a tricky one, right? Because it left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths with its predatory practices and microtransactions. But there's a good game here. I mean, it's probably the best version of Star Wars Battlefront. At least today. I didn't play it at the time of its launch because all I'd heard was how bad these microtransactions were. So I don't really have a perspective on that aspect of it. If you do, leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But my experience with the game was pretty good. And since then, EA's dealt with a lawsuit losing over $3.1 billion. Money is not real. That number doesn't make sense. And none of that stuff is even in the game anymore. In this game, there are so many maps and characters and things that you can do, so many heroes with so many different abilities. This, to me, feels like the definitive Star Wars Battlefront experience. And if you feel like playing a Battlefront game, I would say this is the one to pick up. But again, I really don't have that experience with EA, you know, picking me up and trying to wring me out like a sponge trying to get all of my money. So I don't know. Playing it as it is now, though, I'm going to say this is an S tier. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a Souls-like game. It is also an Uncharted game. It is also a Metroidvania game. It is also the missing season of Shameless. The point of what I'm trying to say is this game is trying to be a lot. But does it succeed? Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a fun game. I like it. I love the way that the world is presented here. And I love, you know, the atmosphere of each of these levels. And I really, really like how the lightsaber feels. And I like that it's hard enough to make me feel accomplished when I finish something, but not so hard that I feel like I just got kicked in my teeth and pushed down the stairs every time I lose. There is a part of me that wishes they didn't try to be so many different things all at once, but at the end of the day, they pulled it off pretty well. The only thing I think is a weakness here is the Metroidvania aspects. And I know there's some discussion on whether it can be that because Metroidvania is like 2D stuff, but it's still got that like learn a new power, go back and go through the same level in a different way thing. And I just don't, you know, it doesn't really jive with me. Also, the maps are confusing as hell. And I think really that's just me. It makes me feel dumb every time I'm trying to run around. I can never find my way to get around. I ran around this level for so long. For so long, I ran around here just trying to find the way. I was trying to run back to the objective. You got to go through like an elevator thing, like a thing. You got to get in this thing and it takes you back. You can't run over there. It's stupid. I'm stupid, but I wish there was a fast travel. Just give me a fast travel. Come on. I don't want to run all the way. All things considered, even still, this game does what it's trying to do very well, and I would say that it's an S tier experience. But, you know, maybe I'm being a little too loose with the S tier ranking. You know, maybe the S stands for slut. Star Wars Squadrons. So this game actually has a VR function to it, and I had played a game a while back where you pilot a mech from inside of it, and you're in VR, and you're sitting down, you're pulling levers and stuff, and I thought that was so cool, and I was expecting an experience kind of like that, but you still play with your keyboard and mouse. But I played the game for 15 minutes, and it made me violently sick for the next 4 hours. I've never had to fight back such a violent urge to vomit. I think this is a cool concept. I can't do it. I'm gonna give this a B tier, and that's a B for barf. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. This game is cool when you're not in a menu or a button prompt or whatever you want to call these things. Cynthia and I had like a whole discussion about whether this is considered a menu. Let me know what you think. Is this considered a menu? Anyways, I just ran from like objective to objective, and I did tailing missions over and over again, and I got bored so quickly. How do you mess it up? I mean, there's so many good aspects to it, right? Like the gameplay is so good. The third person shooting aspect, so good. And the combo system, it took a little getting used to, but I loved it. And it's like the levels were half a second long. I played for half a second, and then I run over to a little objective, and I press a button saying, do you want to start the new mission? And it's like, I don't even know I started the last one. It's over already? How did this happen? I read online this is supposed to be an open world kind of game. I never really like explored the open world because I never felt like there was a moment to do it. And I guess that's just not the experience I was looking for. I didn't care. I tried exploring for a little bit. I just didn't care. I didn't want to. I wanted to play through the game and, you know, play the puzzles and stuff like that. And it just wasn't really there. This might be a more decisive one, but I'm gonna give it a D tier. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Oh yeah, this is good. That shit is pretty. You know, I understand that a lot of the neon lights that they put in levels like they did in Hitman are just like ways to really flex like the lighting mechanics of it, and they did it here and it looks awesome. I know a lot of people here were having trouble with the performance of the game, and I guess I'm just one of the lucky ones. I didn't experience anything like that. I love the different ways you can hold the lightsaber, and I love that I can do it right away. I love that it's just frame one. I got all the powers. I got everything. I don't have to wait for it. I don't have to go back and progress through and learn all these new moves. I just have them. I just have them, and it's fun and it's awesome. And God, these levels feel so good. I love the platforming here. I think they really nailed it. Everything from the last game is made better here. I'm not going to include any spoilers, so I'm not really going to touch on the story, but I think this is a far more interesting story than the first one, and it has me hooked. And I can fast travel. There's a fast travel button. Yes! You can also give him a mullet, and that's cool. The customization in this game is way better. It's like they learned so much from all of their mistakes, any complaint from the original, and made it better here. And I think that's awesome. This is a really, really good game, and I'm gonna be happy to keep playing it. If you are watching this around the time of its release, though, I would suggest just, you know, give it some time before you go and spend $70 on this game, because a lot of people are saying that it just doesn't work. The characters in this game, I think, are a real highlight for me, because I think they're written to feel more real, and in some ways it feels shoehorned in, like with this first guy that you meet. He kind of just tells you his fucking life story and tells you about his kid, and it's like, I don't care, man. I just met you. I don't know you. This game is good, and I'm not gonna stop being a slut anytime soon, so I'm giving it an S tier. And that concludes my personal Star Wars game tier list. Let me know what you think of any of these ratings, if I'm wrong, if I'm right. If there's any games that I missed, just let me know. And then go ahead and click this card right here to take you to a video where I talk about video game movies and why they shouldn't be made, or should they? Click it. Goodbye.